Before we get started on today's show, I'll tell you the podcast is brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. It's a rainy Friday. Go get some Brunswick stew. That's the lunch special today, $4.99, 2 sides bread, 32-ounce drink there at the Oxford Exxon. Go next door to the Oxford Crystal. Plenty of ways to save money and take care of your needs there with the Oxford Exxon and the Oxford Crystal. We're coming to you from the Clark Ford studio. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900, Highway 25 South. Give Corey Clark a call, 15 minutes during business hours. He'll get you a quote, shop it around, take it, and at the end of your deal, tell him about the podcast. Tell him that's where you heard about it. You'll get $500 off that vehicle from Clark Ford, courtesy of the podcast discount here with RebelGrove.com, the Oxford Exxon podcast. Chris Lee joining us today from VandySports.com. Now we'll get on with the show.
From the Clark Ford studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Friday edition of the Oxford Exxon podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, coming to you to close the work week today. We're going to take some of your questions. We're going to talk amongst ourselves, and we're going to be joined by Chris Lee, as I mentioned in the open a second ago. It is probably going to rain all day. It rained all night, so good day to hang in, listen to the podcast, get ready for whatever else is going on this weekend between sports and whatnot. Yesterday, not really news going on last night. The Under Armour All-American game was last night. Jerrion Ealy, who we'll talk about in a few minutes with one of the questions, I think he set an All-Star game record in rushing yards last night. He was very effective for a game littered with Mississippi prospects. So I think Ealy had 116 yards rushing to lead his team last night. Nothing else necessarily has happened. I did report on the board yesterday that Knox LaPoser had broken his foot, catcher, freshman, Ole Miss baseball. He's going to get out of the boot next week. I think he's back in time for any type of activity once the preseason practice schedule starts up, and he's probably the backup catcher, frankly, so that is somewhat important news as Ole Miss moves forward. However, Cooper Johnson will be given every opportunity to take over that spot or to keep that spot as the spring schedule progresses. So anyway, jump into some questions, Mr. McCready. I assume you're having a decent morning.
Yeah. Kind of waking up. Stayed up watching Rockets and Warriors last night longer than I intended to because I kind of thought Golden State was going to dominate a home game. That did not happen.
It takes a really special game for me to stay up anymore. I hardly ever stay up for any sporting event whatsoever. Even some college football games that I'm really interested in, or a Sunday night NFL game that might have some not a Saints game, but some meaning toward the Saints. I hardly ever see a fourth quarter. I just give it up, and I know my body. I know I'm going to get up early, and there's nothing that's going to keep my attention at this point, probably to keep me up past whatever time that is.
Well, this is 2 nights in a row that I've done it, and there's a chance I do it again tonight with Portland and Oklahoma City, and then tomorrow night with Ole Miss Vanderbilt. So I might just turn into a night owl.
What time is Ole Miss Vanderbilt?
7:30.
7:30.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the TV station for that?
Let's see. I'll find it right here.
Okay. It's a really good day for your corduroys, by the way. Did you get those in?
I hadn't gotten them yet.
You not?
I hadn't gotten them yet. Looking forward to them. The game is on the SEC network. Dave Neal and John Sunvold with the call.
Okay.
It's also on the Ole Miss IMG Sports Network. If you have XM, it's channel 381. I don't think I get 381 on my XM.
I don't pay for the ultimate package, I don't guess, because there's a lot of stuff that I notice I don't get somewhere in the higher channels.
Well, I switched cars, and I do pay for the ultimate package, and I'm not sure I'm getting it, and I've got to call Sirius again and have that conversation.
Are you still in the window where everything's kind of free up front though?
But I called right away because I like getting all the baseball games. That's why I get it. When I'm driving around, I like to listen to baseball. If I'm on the road, I can listen to the Mariners, A's, and I'm perfectly fine.
That's a great sport to listen to. It's good radio sport.
It's perfect radio sport.
It's better than radio and TV in a lot of ways. First question that I was just going to skip, but I'll let Neal take over the meaning of life, and I'll go pour a cup of coffee and come back in 10, 15 minutes as he's running you through that as we go on with our day.
Meaning of life.
The meaning of life, yeah. Deep right off the bat.
The meaning of life. Oh, my honest answer on that would probably infuriate a lot of people, so I won't go there. Are they referring to how to have a happy life?
It just says what is the meaning of life. I have no other. Nothing. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm really wanting to go there too much. I think there's just a hell of a lot of chance.
There's no doubt about that.
I don't know. I don't know that there is a meaning to life. I think there is just life.
It's deep.
I mean,
It's deep and incredibly simple all at the same time, I guess, isn't it?
I don't know that there's. I don't know that there's a meaning to a lot of things that people try to give great meaning to. I think sometimes things just are. That's my opinion.
Okay. An easier question to answer is bullpen depth for the women's baseball team as we move forward with the season. Starting to get a few baseball questions. That's not shocking, as February is right around the corner, getting close to opening day when Ole Miss entertains Wright State, and you can't really talk about bullpen depth until you know who's starting, and we don't know who's starting yet. So it's there's a lot of options. Ole Miss has lots of candidates. It's an incredibly deep pitching staff. My assumption is Will Etheridge is going to throw on Friday. I think most people expect that. I've been a little different. I think Houston Roth's going to get a weekend start. I just like his demeanor. I like his mentality. I know Mike puts a lot of value in that. And then that last spot, we're talking about Jordan Fowler, if he can kind of find himself. We're talking about one of the freshmen between Gunnar Hoglund and Doug McKazy. Caleb Hill is going to be excellent. I actually might like his upside better than the rest of them, but I do think he's a little behind right now coming in as a freshman. They like Zach Phillips, the JUCO kid. Really just a lot of different options here, and that's good things for your bullpen as you move forward, because the guys obviously that aren't starting, they're going to be in the pen. Max Chope's going to have more of a role, and then you have Parker Caracci on the back end. So tons of options there for Ole Miss. But let's see who's starting first, because that's going to dictate so many different things. And I think Etheridge is the only one that we know for sure is going to start. I think all other roles are up for grabs at this point for Ole Miss baseball. So who knows? Anyway, so Jerrion Ealy, ... reading the question here. Better odds of being an MLB All-Star outfielder or a Pro Ball running back? Well, he has a better chance of being an outfielder at the moment, because I still think the odds are higher that he plays professional baseball rather than professional football. So I'll go with there with that. I wrote a lot about Ealy yesterday. Go to rebelgrove.com. It's linked up top. I'll leave it up most of the day probably. I talked to some baseball people yesterday. I talked to 3 to be specific. And Ealy, in the latest Baseball America mock draft, is projected to go number 8 overall to the Rangers.
At which point he's gone.
I think that's the same spot Kyler Murray was drafted by the A's last year, actually.
Yeah, that's and Murray got $4 million,
4.8, I believe.
So $5 million.
Yeah, I think it was 4.8, something like that. One of the guys I talked to yesterday said that Ealy's probably top 15 no matter what. The slot value was 3 and something for the 15th spot. I don't have it in front of me, but somewhere over $3 million. And he said that when you play running back, you're not as likely to get that multi-sport deal that Anthony Alford got, that A.J. Brown got, that Kyler Murray got to an extent. Also, the couple other circumstances there is I think some teams have got, or I don't think, I've been told, some teams are getting a little skittish because of the way Murray is waffling on that deal right now. As much as Boris would not like Murray to be waffling on that deal, it makes you wonder if more players are going to try to get out of those contracts when they get in them. Plus, 1 year for a freshman is a whole lot different than a guy who's automatically the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, and you know what you're going to do when you get that offer to him.
If I'm the A's, by the way, I hold Kyler Murray's feet to the fire. I hold his feet to the fire.
No one forced him to sign that contract.
And he's gotten money from that.
Yeah. Yes.
If I'm Oakland, I'm absolutely holding his feet to the fire.
Yeah. No, again.
And I have a very unpopular opinion on this, but you and I have known each other a long time. I'm consistent here. If you can play baseball and football at a high level and you choose football, something is wrong with you. You can make so much more money.
As long as your signing bonus is a life-changing amount.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what I said, at an elite level.
Yeah, I got you.
Not the cat that goes in the 38th round.
Yeah, there are extenuating circumstances. Sinquez made a good decision, but all things weren't equal there.
No.
That's a whole different deal.
Sinquez was not an elite prospect.
No.
Anthony Alford was an elite prospect. And he played football. It was kind of risky.
And let me run through that real quick. It's kind of where I was going with this. Is in the past, years ago, before the collective bargaining agreement, I'm going to try to keep this as layman as possible. In past collective bargaining agreements, what would happen was these kids, because of signability, would slide way down the draft, and then somebody would finally take them, and if they could work out a deal, they'd get more than wherever they were drafted slotted, but less than a really top pick, if that makes sense. Anthony Alford got, I think, $420-something thousand when he signed. Well, he was worth a lot more than that, but he had to take a discount because of playing football too. So
because some of the people around him were trying to get college jobs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Buckley. I mean, whatever. It's been years. So with Ealy, that's what's going to be interesting is he's not going to slide because the teams have protection, number one, if he doesn't play baseball, as long as they offer him. It's like 40% of slot or something. It's very low what they have to offer in a threshold. It's what the Braves did with Carter Stewart last year. They saved their pick by offering him an amount that he was never going to take. So he's not going to slide because teams have protection. Two, teams are kind of tired of the agents bullying them around, so they'll stick to numbers and just take their pick next year and deal with it. There's been kind of a shift there. That's how Gunnar Hoglund got to school. That's how JT Ginn got to school.
It's happening all the way up to the highest levels.
Right. With free
Manny,
agents not signing
it's happening all the way up to Manny Machado and Bryce Harper right now.
So you have that possibility where a team just offers Ealy something and goes, hey, come play baseball or don't. I really don't care. Or you have the other thing where they take him and go, hey, you can play football, but you're only going to get half of the money that I would give you otherwise, and we're going to spend that other half on someone else. So there could be some discounts involved here. There's a couple different scenarios, but still the most likely one is to get the highest amount of money he has to give up the game of football. But I was a little surprised yesterday, frankly. I was expecting everybody to go, oh, no, it's over. And they said, well, it's probably over, but there's some weird little possibilities here and some bargaining that could happen.
Because what makes sense for him is, and I'm just being honest, this is not going to be a popular take, but it's my opinion. If you're going to go in the first half of the first round of the MLB draft, get 100% of slot. Mm-hmm. Go play baseball. One of two things will happen. You'll either become a major leaguer quickly, and by your mid-20s, you will have generational wealth. Or it doesn't work out, and in 4 years, you go play football.
In 2018, the 15th pick got $3,738,500, so $3.7 million for the number 15 pick last year.
So he's guaranteed a minimum probably of $4 million.
And frankly, he needs the development. He's still a pretty raw prospect related to prospects in his draft range. Let's make that clear. He is a much faster Joe Gray is what he did. Joe Gray, who ended up signing with the Brewers, I think, last year. Well, whatever. He slid down, but wherever he was picked. But there's still some rawness there. And also, here's the two things, though, that also play into this a little bit, where the scout goes, look, there's some interesting things about his draft thing. Number one, he's really, really short. And teams don't always take that first pick and grab somebody really short. So that plays into this a little bit. He could slide because of that. And then Neal knows this better than me because as much baseball he watches. It's not 15 years ago. Stolen bases are not the big premium tool that they once were.
No,
so what are you doing with the guy who's speed? That bat has got to play for a top 10 pick to take him in the top 10, in my opinion.
Yeah, the days of baseball teams building a lineup around a leadoff man who gets on and sets the table and stuff, the analytics don't support that. I mean, there's a decent chance Chris Bryant's the Cubs leadoff man this year. He's not stealing 10 bases all season. They don't want him running. When you run, you slide, and you jam fingers or turn ankles.
It's really quite the catch-22 because analytics say play baseball this way, and from a visibility standpoint, it's a harder game to watch. It's so much more bogged down and slow because of it, too.
Yeah, baseball's harder to watch than it's ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
I laugh at people that go, soccer's boring. I'm like, do you watch baseball? Especially at the high level, where everybody has incredible stuff. And yeah, if you're sitting right behind the plate, that's fascinating. But if you're sitting in the 200 level down the third baseline, you can't tell a slider from a fastball.
The guy just having a beer and a dog, he doesn't know what's going on.
It's just pitches, walks, and strikeouts.
Slow, waiting on the 3-run home run.
Yeah, there's not much activity. The game's harder to watch. But anyway, it's the way the game's being played right now. So I don't know. I don't know who advises these kids. $4 million in your pocket at 18. No one's taking football away from him. But when you say, hey, we'll try to do both, now you're just taking money away from yourself and risking injury. It's a compound thing. The smart thing is go play baseball, get your money, and then if it doesn't work out, you can still go back and play college football.
He is such the case study from an interesting, if you're into the draft, because I bet there's a disconnect between, scouts are drooling over him compared to general managers going, what do we do? And there's probably a really big 180 there between the two.
Well, he's hurting himself with baseball people by doing this waffle thing. He's absolutely hurting himself.
Clubs don't like indecision.
Well, you have a first-round pick. First-round picks are more valuable than ever before. That's why a lot of these free agents aren't signing. A.J. Pollock is a 31-year-old, ready-to-go major league center fielder who's, when healthy, very good. He didn't have an offer. Manny Machado is a 26-year-old generational player. He has one offer. There's a decent chance Bryce Harper ends up returning to the Nationals they'll package it to make it look like a big deal, a long deal. It's going to be a 2-year deal because he can't get the offers that Scott Boras said he'd get.
If you do want to know a really intriguing two-sport candidate, might be the Plumlee kid. He's probably a 5th, 6th round pick, probably going to get a couple $100,000 somewhere in there, and they might let him go do something else. I'm almost kind of more fascinated in his situation more than Ealy's because he's got some interesting. He's got a football interesting thing because of the whole quarterback versus other position thing, and then he's got baseball being a real thing here. He's the number 2 outfielder in Mississippi. He's ranked 300 and something nationally. He's a legitimate prospect. He's a top 10 round pick.
If you're Ealy, though, and you're going to play baseball, you need to go play baseball. You need to go play. You need to go get instructional league at-bats. Lots of them. You need to go out to Arizona or Florida or whatever and start playing baseball. And I think that's the hard part for guys like him is that they've gotten all of this limelight and publicity and stuff, and you're going to go be a nobody for a couple of years.
Billings for a year.
You're falling off the map. But you're going to get a ton of money. And I don't know how much the money matters to him. If it's my kid, people go, if it's your kid, if it's my kid, $4 million, we're taking the money.
Yeah, if he's 15th pick and he gets 3.8, that's...
I don't know how you say no to that.
That's a little over 2 in pocket.
Oh, it's 2.5 in your pocket. And if you invest it smartly, meaning sit it in a savings account, you're good. As opposed to going to play college football and you get your knee wrecked your sophomore year, and now you're not. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't understand the indecision. And I know people are out there saying, "Well, he loves football." I get it. I just don't. I don't know how people.
Well, why his mindset's different than either one of us is he thinks he's an NFL running back.
Well, he might be, but if he is, he's 3 years away from being one.
But that's what he thinks. That is the indecision. That is the reason. Right, wrong, and different, that's the answer to that question is he believes he's an NFL running back.
His earning potential is much higher as a baseball player than it is as a football player.
It's guaranteed.
Of course.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, if you can be a first-round football pick or baseball pick, you'd much rather be the football pick. But from a money standpoint, the way the contracts are structured.
Yeah. Show me. Here's the thing. Show me the NFL running backs in their 30s. Let's do that list. It's a short one.
But that's also assuming Ealy gets a second or a third contract, which is probably equally unlikely.
Right. It's a hell of an assumption, as opposed to the baseball deal where.
No, I'm talking about baseball. You're giving him a second or a third baseball contract to get that kind of money.
Well, that's my point, though. You get the money ahead, and if it does, one of two things happens. You either become a major leaguer and get on a major league scale.
Oh, I'm simply talking about him being a running back in his 30s. I mean, you'd have to also take a leap to say he's a baseball player in his 30s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you can do the baseball thing, and then if it doesn't work out, 4 years later, you can go play college football. There are guys that do it. The kid at Georgia, at Auburn now, the former baseball player, I think his name's maybe Sandberg.
Cord Sandberg.
Baseball didn't work out.
I think he originally – did he commit to state originally?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he was a first-round pick.
Yeah, the Sandberg kid.
Went and played baseball. Didn't work out, and now he's a quarterback at Auburn. That's the smart thing. He's got his money in his pocket. And now he can try the football thing. To me, that's the absolute – it's a no-brainer. I'm surprised that it's this big of a thing. And maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know the people close to him.
Well, everything's theoretical right now, too, is the reason. There is no offer in front of him. You know what I mean? Like, it becomes more real when somebody puts a check in front of you. Right now, we can speculate all day long because it's not tangible.
I thought him playing football his senior year was real risky. And it turned out it almost was.
He had the elbow thing or the arm
elbow,
thing
shoulder
something.
thing. You start messing with your arm, now you're messing with one of your major tools.
Yeah, he's a huge. I mean, he's the fastest runner in the country potentially. He's got a huge arm, and he's got a raw but plus potential bat is the way it's kind of played out. So
if he can just become a contact guy, I don't know. I don't know enough about him. I don't know who the people around him are, but hopefully the people around him are in it for the long haul and not in it for a quick payday.
Yeah, I mean, kind of last thing on it before we move on. It's the interesting thing, though. I mean, my only little thing, whatever, in that, and I agree with you. I mean, I would take the money just because it's the money. He's got to like it. He's got to want to do it. And that's what I don't always know. I mean, like, for Sinquez, he kind of didn't want to do it. I mean, there's a certain day-to-day grind that some kids just don't care enough about the sport to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you gotta want to do it. You gotta fulfill your end of the deal. So I don't know. It's interesting.
No, I mean, he's grown up in the South, and he sees all these Saturdays and all the 70,000 people and 100,000 people and whatnot all over the place. And I'm sure that in his mind, the prospect of not doing that is painful, as opposed to being out in Peoria, Arizona, getting at bats, and frankly, go from having tons of success to a lot of failure. It's going to be a lot of failure.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. He's approaching that point, though, because I'm in the minority on this with Ole Miss, too. I'm not signing him at Ole Miss unless I know he's going to come play. I'm not giving that scholarship away right now. The roster has too many holes on it. If you're Clemson, you can do that. You can give a roster spot away for a year. I don't think Ole Miss is in position to do that. They need a running back. Their backup running back right now is Woolard. And behind Woolard is nobody, frankly. And I'm not convinced Isaiah Woolard's an every down SEC back. I think he's solid as a backup. And Scotty Phillips is a senior. You've got to build some depth there.
We'll move on with our questions in a second. First, tell you about Scripted Jewelry. If you haven't gone to the website, do that now. Stop what you're doing. ScriptedJewelry.com. And telling you about how easy it is to get your product ordered, how quick the turnaround time is, as you want to get a pendant, even a key fob, a necklace, a ring, so many different things. You can write whatever you want. You can get it scripted right there onto the jewelry. You can do fingerprints. So many different options to make a great keepsake, a great gift coming up. You got Valentine's Day. You got graduation for too long. You got Mother's Day. Or just thinking about you, here's a great gift. So, again, that's ScriptedJewelry.com. Check them out. We've used them. The order process is fantastic, and you can see all the different options. Again, they're at ScriptedJewelry.com.
Chris Lee will join us later on in the show on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law, specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but theirs is a general practice that can handle any of your legal needs. When you contact Patterson and Earhart, you speak to one of the partners in the firm, and that's who will handle your case, not some paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. If Patterson and Earhart can't help you, they'll refer you to someone who can. John Calvin Patterson and Wes Earhart are Ole Miss guys. They're local guys. And when you call them, you're going to get one of them on the phone within the same day, guaranteed. So whether you've been injured in a car wreck or have other legal issues, give them a call, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com. Your initial consultation is free. We're also brought to you by the Home 2 Suites in Oxford. It's now open and ready for you to stay with them in 2019. Are you coming to Oxford to watch Rebel Hoops at the Pavilion? If you are, Home 2 Suites is conveniently located 1 mile from campus, just off the Old Taylor Road exit. They're offering a 20% discounted rate the entire week of Pop-Up Oxford. That's January the 19th through the 26th. You must call the front desk to receive the discount when booking. It's a pet-friendly hotel, so you don't have to leave your four-legged friends behind. They also have a designated area for walks, complete with the pet station for your convenience. So be sure to follow them on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, so you don't miss their announcement of when the football weekend reservations will open. That's Home 2 Suites, Oxford. You also step into the new year in style. You really need to experience the difference a quality sock makes. This is the first step in dressing for the job you want, not the job you have. So go to deadsoxy.com, enter the code RebelGrove at checkout to receive 25% off all orders, including sale items. As they continue to grow, they want you to know they appreciate the continued support of the Rebel Grove community. They're constantly striving to improve their quality, relationships, and customer experiences. You're going to be the first to know of all new products and opportunities as they come. So remember to enter the promo code RebelGrove at checkout for 25% off all orders, and Happy New Year from Dead Soxy.
Podcast that's brought to you by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting that understands your market, the leader in condo financing in Oxford, and the flow-down option. So you can lock in the current rate, but if rates come down for you close, you get the lower rate. 662-234-2704 or JLOW, J-L-O-W-E, at communitymtg.com. Just for the absurdity of this, I decided to include it. If the fingers on your hand were drink dispensers, you can only drink the liquid that comes out of each digit. What 5 liquids would it be, Mr. McCready?
Why do I have to go first on this?
I mean, we can go 1, 1, 2, 2 if you'd like.
I mean,
I drink unsweet tea every day, so that's number 1.
Okay. I would have coffee every day.
Coffee's my number 2, honestly. I'd go there.
I would have water.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be smart just for the heck of it. I would not.
You would need water. I'd probably this is the only way I can get liquids.
This is it. You get these 5 liquids.
I'd have some bourbon on one of them.
Yep. A tap.
I'd have a red wine tap on one of them.
Then you're out. That's it.
I've only used 4.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Probably have a beer tap.
Do you even want a beer when you can only have one kind of beer? I guess that's better than no beer ever.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't even think about the beer because I don't really drink it. I'm just not my thing.
I don't drink tea. So if you told me I could only of non-alcoholic beverages, I could just have water and coffee, I'm good.
I would contemplate. I would contemplate a bourbon and a wine. And I think that would end up being my answer. And this is going to sound crazy because you don't want to give up either one of them probably for good. And you definitely don't want to give up water for good. But after a run or any type of workout, I really like a Powerade Zero. I would have a really hard time not having some sort of Powerade Zero on my list.
I was thinking about Gatorade.
Yeah. But I don't want to replace water. And I'm not replacing coffee or tea.
I would definitely have water. I would definitely have coffee. I would definitely have red wine, and I would definitely have bourbon.
Well, now, here's a thought.
The 5th is up in the air.
Here's a thought. I want my good coffee, but technically you can make instant coffee off the water.
Yeah, but I kind of like...
Don't want to give it up that easy?
Kind of like good coffee with filtered water and the whole thing.
Okay.
Like, you go to some places and you get the coffee, and it's very clear that they barely put any coffee in the water. And it's just kind of gross.
Yep. No thanks.
I like the good coffee. Like, you take me to a place that has really good coffee, I'm in.
I appreciate your concern, Avery, but I am not buying a pony for the sweet baby girl at this point. We are not purchasing a horse.
I'm with Avery on this. 100%. I think she's exactly right.
I was told by somebody in the horse community yesterday, if you're going to buy something, why would you buy a pony anyway? Go ahead and buy the larger horse.
I agree with that. I'd buy one of those big chestnut.
Do what?
What's it called? The Budweiser has them, the Clydesdales. The big,
chestnut, huh?
They have there's like a chestnut pony or something I've heard of.
That's not the Budweiser.
Not a big
pony.
horse. I'd get a Clydesdale.
That makes sense.
She'd love a Clydesdale. Take it up and down your street.
As I've told you, there's some middle ground here that might work out at some point, but Mr. Craddock has kind of pushed me away from some of the ideas that were going through my mind. So we are.
You can do a timeshare pony, timeshare horse.
Pony.
You can. There are. Where for the 1 hour that she was on the horse, she could say, "This is my horse."
My horse.
She would technically be right. Later that day, it would be somebody else's horse.
League play starts tomorrow. What's the SEC record for the Rebels this season?
I'm going to stick with what I've said for a while, which is 8-10. And if you told me I'm wrong the game, I'd go 7-11.
You had the tournament mixed up, but you have the correct record to this point, right?
Yeah,
10-2.
I had them at 10-2, and I've got them winning about 18 games. I mean, I'm pretty good at listening to coaches. It's my first year to cover Kermit Davis, so I'm still learning him. He's worried about his depth. He doesn't even try to hide that. They're, I think, somewhat pleased with some of their post play, somewhat concerned with the rest of it. And they're worried about their depth. They have no margin for error. So are they going to go 18 games and nobody tweaks an ankle?
Right.
I mean,
and you got two freshmen that are going to hit a wall at some point.
Well, they kind of already hit it a little. I mean, Bree and Tyree pulls a hamstring and misses 2 weeks. I mean, Andy Kennedy makes a couple of tournaments if they don't have injuries, but those were thin teams. They lost Sebastian Saiz and Stephen Moody at one point. That was a team that was starting to play well. They were going to make the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
This team's thin, man, and they're going to. They were counting on a couple of guys that have not come through. They needed to get something out of Brian Hallams and Zach Naylor, and it hasn't happened yet at all. I mean, none. And I asked him about that yesterday. I'll write it later in the day. There's just not a confidence there. So I don't. I know everybody's excited and it's new, and I think Kermit's doing a great job. I keep going back to what I've said, which is their margin for error is so thin that it's hard to foresee it really working out.
With Ole Miss being totally irrelevant in football the past 3 seasons, would a super regional versus state surpass any hostile environment recent Egg Bowls have had, such as 12 through 15? Well, not 14 and 15, but it's much more close quarters, so you would notice interactions more than you necessarily would on a football field. The biggest thing about that, and this is the second part of his question, is tell me where the game's at, because if that thing's in Starkville, State will fully expect to win, and frankly, the Ole Miss crowd would be freaked the crap out in Oxford. So I don't know. It would be interesting just on who hosted that regional, in my opinion.
It'd be
people would be so nervous in Oxford for that 3 games, even if you had the much better team.
It'd be fun to go people watch.
Just hang out.
I'd probably go to people watch.
Yeah, because I'm never blaming fans, but Ole Miss has got to find a way to not create this tense, crazy atmosphere in a bad way in the late innings of postseason games. You could feel it last year.
Absolutely.
6th, 7th inning, when they got the bases loaded with 1 out and didn't score, it was just a cloud.
Yep.
Went over the whole place.
Yep.
It's like a vacuum cleaner. Just sucked it all up.
Yep.
So.
I thought it was caustic that Monday.
Yeah.
I did. I thought
got off on a wrong foot early because MacArthur was so bad, and then it just sort of fizzled.
And then there was this dread all day. They went into that second game that day. Everybody was like, "Oh God, I can't believe this is happening." Instead of, "We're fine. We got a game to play."
Yeah.
At home.
They're going to throw a right fielder at some point
Against Tennessee Tech.
Yeah. pitching depleted Tennessee Tech.
Yeah.
Tennessee Tech basically won a regional with 2 dudes throwing.
And Tennessee Tech was loose as a goose over there. Just chill. Ole Miss was tight. You could see it.
Question for Pastor V here. Curious how the Elko, Adams, Gendel, Cockrell group finding playing time. Personally expect Elko to unseat Cockrell at DH because of his struggle with the off-speed breaking balls. Yeah, they've got an interesting deal here. So, I'm not drawing this out in front of me, but just kind of going off the top of my head. I think some spots are decided. Cooper Johnson's going to catch. Cole Zabowski's going to play first base. Greg Kessinger's going to play shortstop. Tyler Keenan is going to play third. And then Thomas Dillard and Ryan Olenek are going to have spots in the outfield. But it's a good problem to have, but that leaves second base, another outfield spot, and then DH. And Ole Miss has a group of 5 players that can play those 3 spots. That's Anthony Servideo, that's Gendel, I guess, that's Cockrell, that's Elko, and it's somebody else that, frankly, I'm kind of forgetting at the moment. Oh, Jacob Adams. Because you can play Servideo at second, and I think that's what he's going to do because he's so dynamic there. It gives you maybe the best middle infield in the country between Kessinger and Servideo. Servideo also could play center field. He could fix some of your outfield defense problems. And Jacob Adams is very manageable at second base. Adams had a really high OBP last year. He's probably better with the bat than he gets credit for. So they've got to sort that out. I think you've got to get Servideo, Adams, and Elko as many bats as humanly possible. And Gendel is very fast. He plays really good defense, and he's come on with the bat. So early on, Mike's got his hands full kind of trying to figure out the niches, figure out the roles with this team. Cockrell's the one that if he doesn't really, really hit well, I think he could be the odd man out, even with his experience and being around and having so many plate appearances to this point. But Servidio's the one that has a chance to be an all-SEC type impact player. But you got to put him in a spot. He's going to be your shortstop next year once Greg Kessinger goes pro. So I like keeping him in the infield. I like letting him play second base, being really dynamic in the infield. But I do understand that, unless it's Gendel and he takes over, you're going to struggle a little bit in the middle of your outfield defense. I mean, Ryan Olenek, for all his positives, is not a great defender in center, and you got to figure that out a little bit. So I don't know what they're going to do, but personally, I like Servideo at second base more than anywhere else. We'll see what Mike decides to do there. So anyway, I've only taken Lyft one time. It was fine, so I have no preference on Uber or Lyft.
I've never taken Lyft. Although I saw a thing on the Today Show the other day that Lyft is actually cheaper.
Is it?
Yep.
Lyft was the corporate partner with that tennis tournament we went to in D.C., I forget what the Open is, at the Rockbridge Tennis Center or whatever up there. We watched Djokovic play that night. Andy Murray played that night too.
Neither one of them took a Lyft.
Probably did not take a lift, but they had the lift, the cars just circling where you could just get in one and go, and that seemed to be much easier than calling an Uber and trying to figure out where you were and get to the Uber. So
sure.
Just followed the little pink sign around, and it was all good.
I took Uber in D.C., and there were lots of, Russian sort of names.
Really?
I was struck with that, yeah.
Russian?
Like Serbia, Russia, Croatia.
Czechoslovakian?
Yeah. Something a Slav.
You're probably being racist right now and you don't even know it or something.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I am, but I'm not trying to be. And if I am, I'm not being maliciously racist.
I laughed at this question again, so I'm going to give it to you just because of the absurdity of it. I think you probably read it too. You got to switch around some actors out of movies. I think you've seen all 3 of these movies, so you probably can do this. So you're given the following movies with their corresponding male leads. You have to move the male leads around to a different movie. Who do you move where and why? Okay? Your movies are Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner.
Okay.
Braveheart with Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise in Top Gun. Those characters have to play other movies on the list. You're completely ruining one of the movies. You just have to figure out which one is ruined the least. I mean, almost to the point of, as crazy as this sounds, I think you just...
Don't you ruin Braveheart?
By putting...
Tom Cruise in it and just make it funny.
Is that what you do?
I hated that movie.
So you think Mel Gibson can be... You think Costner can play Top Gun then? No, you put Mel Gibson in Top Gun. Well, no, you can't do that. You got to move him to Field of Dreams if you're doing that.
I think Mel Gibson could do Field of Dreams. It might actually be funnier.
All right, so we put Gibson in Field of Dreams. That means that means
you could put Costner in Top Gun and not ruin it because he's going to do the same dramatic stuff.
Okay. Which leaves Tom Cruise playing Braveheart.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise couldn't do the baseball thing. He doesn't look. He
played softball in A Few Good Men.
Yeah, he doesn't look athletic.
He played
enough.
football in all the right moves and committed pass interference every time as a defensive back.
He's not.
He's a really bad to be probably a pretty good athlete, like from a fighting and martial arts phase. He looks really uncomfortable with any type of natural, like normal sport.
Yeah,
if you will.
He doesn't look like an athlete at all.
He shoots basketball in cocktail. Does not look very comfortable doing it.
No, he looks terrible.
Plays pool in A Color of Money, convincingly enough, if you want to count that. I'm kind of embarrassed for myself of rattling off Tom Cruise playing sports and movies. Yeah. Frankly, I'm a little worried about myself at the moment.
I am too
because I picked 5 or 6 already.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I mean, he raced cars in Days of Thunder,
and he pulled that off. Okay,
well, that's different. That's
yeah,
we're not critiquing his plane flying skills. I mean, the F-14 was fine with Tom in it.
Because you're sitting and just moving levers and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard is it to sit in a thing and just turn the wheel to the left?
It's fair.
You know.
It's fair. It's fair. I mean, okay.
But I think Costner could have pulled any of that off.
Did you know we were going to get a 100-post thread almost on Q-tips yesterday? Did you notice that?
I did. I haven't read it. You use Q-tips?
Yeah, some.
Yeah. I do at times.
I mean, I've never had problems per se, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, I've never had major like earwax issues.
I don't have a large amount of wax in my ears compared to most people. I don't think. Because like some people have to really work, get them cleaned out all the time and have. I mean, it's not a sanitary thing. It's just your body's different. I mean, I'm not being rude or anything.
So you're being racist against people who have earwax?
Well, earwax is not a race, so earwax amounts is not a race.
Don't know what to tell you.
Somebody probably needs a safe space. That's probably a microaggression somewhere.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's somebody really worked up about my Oslav comment.
You want the Chancellor question?
I haven't seen it, so go ahead.
In your opinion, what's the primary role of the Chancellor with respect to Ole Miss, and what are the qualities that you would look for in said Chancellor?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You're better at this than I am.
A little fundraising. Overall morale, frankly. Strong leadership. I mean, strong leadership's it's just a primary thing, given what your specialty is. I tend to think the person needs to have some experience and understanding of an academic entity. I think there's a lot of on-the-job training for things that, not necessarily running departments. Like everybody goes, well, you just make a provost handle that. And I agree, your provost have to run the day-to-day operations of your academic departments. However, I do think having some understanding what that environment is like is important. I mean, you look at Mark Keenum. He's got a PhD. He's got some experience with colleges beforehand, so that paid off. I mean, I think some of the. Yes, Mark Keenum was a non-traditional candidate in a way, but he wasn't crazy out of left field non-traditional. So I do think some academic things are important. But no, fundraising, morale, just the window into the university is what you're control over, and you got to be able to maximize that. So and also have to have some. I'm not saying you have to have an Ole Miss guy. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think Mississippi is quirky enough that you have to have somebody that understands some dynamics inside the state. I do think that's important for your chancellor. I'll go that far with it as we
quirky, huh?
You disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I said this earlier today that I don't keep up with Mississippi politics at all, but I hear the descriptions of some of the people who are running for high office, and we just watched the Senate race unfold, and I think quirky's fair.
Quirky's fine.
That's probably about as nice as you could put
quirky is a very benign way to categorize what we're...
Yeah, I mean, quirky's better than holy shit.
Well, sometimes that applies too.
Yeah, it is applied lately.
Every state's kind of weird.
Yes.
And they're weird in their own ways, but this one's weird in its own certain way as well.
And I'm not making fun of Mississippi. I'm from Louisiana. We have the most corrupt politics in the world.
Is it still corrupt?
I really don't know.
Okay.
Probably.
I mean, there was a time where
the odds of it being corrupt are pretty high, frankly. So I'm not ripping on the state, but come on, you just watched the last Senate race. I mean, let's all just be real here. Sometimes when you look in the mirror and your pants don't fit and you try to tell yourself, no, I haven't gained weight, that's not the healthy approach either.
Is NCAA going to investigate findings from the FBI report or just sweep it under the rug?
I think the odds are heavily on sweeping under the rug.
Think so?
I mean, number one, I don't know that they have the manpower. Number two, I don't think they have the desire to go after the big boys like that. I don't know what they do. I've said this for a while. I think it puts them in a really tough spot because a lot of the digging's been done for them, and they now have the ability to use those court documents.
Why do you think in football, the NCAA's gone after the big boys, but they've gone after the big boys when they're kind of broken? Alabama when it was trying to find itself, Miami, Penn State with everything it had going on with it. I mean, Ole Miss to the extent was probably one of the ones that was kind of on the upswing when they got on them. Why do you think they're even hesitant to jump on that basketball program that's trying to find itself and kind of follow the same formula there?
Because that basketball tournament is such a cash cow for them. That
Just trying to leave the whole thing alone.
When you eliminate teams that are maybe going to be a 6 seed and a 7 seed and an 8 seed, that tournament's the basketball's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you eliminate it, the names and everybody, you can only have so many Mount St. Mary's in that tournament. I mean, the first day's great because everybody's like, "Woo! I've got Pepperdine against." Starting about that Saturday, you got to start having some names clash.
Yeah, you really don't need to knock Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, and UCLA out of the tournament.
Yeah, so eliminating them before the tournament starts, probably not in their best interest.
I saw Liberty got Steve Alford fired. Liberty beat UCLA basketball the other day.
Yeah.
Saw that. Chris Lee.
Steve Alford was incredibly unpopular with UCLA fans.
Really?
Yeah.
Going to go Chris Lee in 1 minute. For today, I'll tell you about the Blow Dry Bar Oxford, 662-638-3310. The blowjob bar at gmail.com. If you'd like to email them, they're right on Jackson Avenue, 1801 Jackson Avenue, 10 to 6 Tuesday to Friday, 10 to 3 on Saturdays. Go in, get a blowout. If you're one of the 4% listening, you can tell them about rebelgrove.com. You get a discount on that. And one of the guys listening, take care of the special woman in your life with a gift card to Blow Dry Bar. A lot of different options, keratin treatments, blowouts, spray tanning, and much more. So something to take care of the woman in your life, or if you're the woman listening, take care of yourself. Blow Dry Bar, Oxford, 662-638-3310.
Podcast also sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. It's based in Madison, Mississippi. They provide a lot of services for individuals. They also provide, via the Pinnacle Trust 401k advisory services, retirement plans for your company. Maintaining an appropriate retirement plan for your company often seems like a daunting task, especially when you consider everything else that goes into running a successful business. The Pinnacle Trust 401k advisory services provides plan sponsors with the expertise and consultation that they need to administer a retirement plan that inspires employees to reach their retirement goals. Pinnacle Trust Retirement Plan Advisory Team specializes in a variety of different types of plans, including 401k plans and 403b plans. Pinnacle can help plan sponsors benchmark their current 401k plan, consult on current plan designs, provide ongoing plan and investment fund reviews, manage employee communication and investment education, and conduct a plan sponsor fiduciary analysis. When you work with Pinnacle Trust 401k advisory services, you gain a valuable advisory team and time-saving resource that will help you develop and maintain a solid strategy for your retirement plan. They're committed to providing you with the personalized attention and involvement that you want and need. Their goal is to help you manage your 401k plan properly and ultimately improve your employees' retirement readiness. So call Pinnacle Trust 401k Advisory Services team today. They can conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the Oxford Exxon podcast and receive 10% off your first year's fee. It's pintrust.com, P-I-N-N, trust.com.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy. Don't waste your time with the big chains. Go somewhere you're appreciated. G&M is locally owned and operated. They care about their customers. Been Oxford's trusted hometown pharmacy for 40 years and offer many great services such as MedSync, immunization, free delivery to your home or workplace, and more right there off South Lamar Boulevard. Just give them a call and they'll take care of the rest with getting your prescriptions moved over. 662-236-2222. Now Chris Lee here on the Patterson and Earhart Hotline.
Chris, thanks for joining us. We're not going to keep you long. Just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. They open SEC play, as you know, tomorrow night there in Nashville. This Vanderbilt team came into the season with a lot of hype, a lot of deserved hype, because Darius Garland is as good a point guard as there is in college basketball, and then he goes down with an injury. And Kermit Davis talked about this a little bit yesterday. They lost that game, I think, to Kent State, where there was some shock that probably was going through the program. But since then, they've played pretty well, including at the point guard spot. Just sort of give us your thoughts on this Vanderbilt team and how much of a challenge it will be for Ole Miss on Saturday night.
Yeah, to the Garland and Neal, I go back and look, and I thought it was justified that they were not a top 25 team coming into the season just because of some unknowns. The way that Darius Garland played in 4 games in 2 minutes, I think they would have been with him. He was special. Probably a first-team All-SEC kid. I don't know that he would have been Player of the Year in the league because Grant Williams is having a pretty good year for a top-5 team. But he might have made it interesting a lot of other years. But, you know, it took him a while. I think what Kermit said about them being shocked in the Kent State game was accurate. Kent State got its leading scorer back who hadn't played before that. Garland went down the first 2 minutes of that game. I think the team was in shock. And it took him a couple games, but Saban Lee has played really well. Just a little fun fact, if you grew up watching Florida State football in the 80s, his dad is Amp Lee. So they're both very athletic. He has posterized some people this year a lot taller than he is. He's getting to the line a lot, which they're number 7 in the country, according to Ken Palm. They played better without him. They've had some games where it's ugly. Those games were away from home, which is not uncommon for a young team. So I'll be interesting to see what they get tomorrow or what Vanderbilt team you get. For the most part, they played pretty well at home when they played teams. Sometimes they've had some lapses against some bad teams, which happens. But they're a talented team even without Garland. And if you catch them on the wrong day, they're capable of playing pretty well.
What have you seen out of Simisola Shatu?
He's really good. Just have fun watching him tomorrow because you don't see a lot of kids like him. He's a 6'10" kid with ball handling skills. He wants to shoot from the outside. He's not there yet, but he can pass the ball. He's pretty good from the foul line, which for bigs is a big deal. He's raw defensively. I think he's still too used to playing the AAU game where they don't defend, and he hasn't learned that yet. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there, but he's a very skilled big man, and you don't see a lot of guys in his mold that have the skills that he does. He's fun to watch.
This is a big game for Ole Miss, but it's also a big game for Vandy. If you look at that early schedule, they go to Georgia and then to Kentucky in the next set. I mean, this is one that if you told Bryce Drew, hey, you're losing tomorrow, he'd kind of panic a little, wouldn't he?
I think so. My synopsis is they've got Ole Miss and Georgia, and Ole Miss is a good team, and Georgia's capable on certain days too. That one's on the road. They need to come out of this at least 1-1. If they're 0-2, I think you can forget any realistic hope of NCAA tournament. And I think, honestly, they're on the bubble. I would suspect that they don't get in at this point more than I think they do, but it's certainly possible. I think, obviously, you want to win as many home games as you can. And no offense to Ole Miss, that's a good team. But, Ole Miss is probably 7, 8, 9 down the pecking order. at best within the league. And so I think that's one, if you're Vanderbilt, if you can't win, especially if you don't follow it up with a win at Georgia, I think a lot of your preseason aspirations are in jeopardy. And Ole Miss, too, I think Ole Miss probably looks at this like we need to steal one on the road. And it's never easy to win at Vanderbilt, but it's not as hard as winning at Kentucky or Florida or Tennessee or one of those this year. I think this is one of those that if Vanderbilt doesn't get it, I'm not going to say you panic yet, but you got to get the Georgia game. If you don't get this, if you're Ole Miss, you don't panic yet. But if you do get it and you're Ole Miss, I think you've got to be really encouraged because, again, Vanderbilt's a team capable of playing well, especially at home on the right day.
Oh, it'd be a huge win for Ole Miss if they could get it because they get Auburn at home next week, and Auburn's one of the top 10 to 15 teams in the country, and then they have to go to Mississippi State, which is – not only are they very good, that's just a hard place to go win, especially if you're wearing a uniform that says Ole Miss on it. I've read Vanderbilt's expecting a big crowd. What kind of environment, what kind of atmosphere do you expect tomorrow?
I don't know. They were going to have some pretty rocking crowds this year if Garland had stayed healthy. He's got a big support base locally. And so, some people bought tickets, I think season tickets, anticipating that he'd be part of the team. Obviously, he's not now, but they may come anyway. That crowd's been pretty good this year. The numbers haven't always been there, but the young kids have kind of brought some energy back into that gym. Ole Miss has got a pretty good local alumni base, I think, in Nashville. You guys probably know more about that than I would. I would expect with the way they've started, they'll bring some people. You might even see some people with some Kermit Davis ties coming in from a little east of here, but I think it'll be a pretty decent crowd.
Last thing, we always will touch on football when we have people on to talk basketball. Derek Mason once again sort of saves himself at the end of a season. His name popped up on the Colorado job. He ultimately stayed at Vanderbilt. We talked about this going into that game in November. Is he sort of the Vanderbilt coach by default right now, or are people excited about it? I mean, what's just kind of the feeling there?
It's mixed. I did a piece on him in our 321 if people are interested, where you can kind of make a case for him either way. Since 1960, they kind of threw in the towel on football. I think they're finally, with the new AD, going to start investing again, which it's about time. But if you compare him to coaches since that time, by Vanderbilt standards, he's not been bad. Yet, if you do a composite 5-year standings over the last 5 years in the SEC, they're still dead last. So you can kind of make your case on him either way. If they'd won that bowl game, Neil, that would have gone a long way, I think, towards getting people more excited. That's the one thing that he really needed, I think, in my estimation, to have, was to say, hey, I at least finally got a winning season after 5 years. He doesn't have that yet. I think fans are still split on him. The way they called games down the stretch and sometimes not using Keyshawn Vaughn, who was just phenomenal, continues to just put them under a blanket of criticism that I think, unless there's a hidden injury or something there, which may be the case, is fair. But I think he's safe for 2 more years. I think they're getting a new AD, or that they've got a new AD. I think the road will be paved for him a little bit to say, look, he didn't have much of a fair shot in terms of the fact that we've done nothing for him in facilities when we're behind on things. I have some questions about him with his in-game coaching and clock management and just the same mistakes that he's making, in year 5 in some cases he's making year 1 and year 2. But on the other hand, there is a case that it's tough to win there, and he has gotten into 6 wins twice, which is something, if you look back through the last 56 years of history, not a lot of coaches have done.
Well, my man, really appreciate the time. I'll see you tomorrow night in Nashville.
Be safe.
Okay.
Thanks to Chris for joining us. The podcast also brought to you by Visit Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com. And I want to tell you about their 3rd annual pop-up Oxford Festival that's going on. You can see that out at popupoxfordms.com or visit oxfordms.com/pop-up Oxford. That's January 19th through 27th. A lot of Ole Miss men's basketball during that time period. Also on the 26th, Ole Miss faces Iowa State. The Meet the Rebels for Ole Miss baseball will be before that as well. We got songwriter competitions, community reading. We have much, much more there, including a hotel hop, an MLK Day breakfast, Mississippi Monday at the movies at the Belfry, at the Oxford Art Crawl, cocktail classes and tastings. That's called Bitter and Bite, something Neil and I might be interested in. That is at a small hall on January 22nd. So tons of different things going on with Pop-Up Oxford. Again, visit oxfordms.com.
Yeah, you had me on cocktails. The podcast also brought to you by the Westin Jacksons. Restore serenity to your soul by visiting Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. Escape from the everyday and rejuvenate yourself in their luxury spa today. And then speaking of cocktails, gather at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro and sip on a creative craft cocktail or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships. So gather at Estelle tonight. The podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. So you're getting you ready for your summer trip, whether it's a romantic trip to Paris or a golf trip to Pebble Beach or a family trip to Florida or a cruise in the Caribbean, whatever it may be, get in touch with John Edwards. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners. It allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that simply are not available to other travelers. So call John, give him some parameters, give him a budget, and then let him do the work. You sit back and let him give you options. He'll come up with options that you would never have found on your own. 901-494-3387. You don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of this, or JEdwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. Also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. Grenada Nissan has a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one today. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on the podcast. Or at rebelgrove.com, and you'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan.
Podcast is brought to you by Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape, 662-607-7773. Give them a call. Let them get a contract ready for you, a schedule to take care of your yard all year long. Pretty soon it's going to be that time. Might need some landscaping done, might need some flower beds taken care of. Whatever it is, Mastercuts will hook you up. They've been helping me for a long time and do a great job. And they also want to tell you that if you're still time to get some custom playgrounds ready for the spring and entertain your kids for years to come, from simple forts to princess castles to pirate ships, Mastercuts will build a base for your child's imagination to run wild. Reach out and schedule a free meeting to see what Mastercuts can build for you. 662-607-7773 or info@gomastercuts.com. Let's see, getting on into questions a little more. But usually have pretty good answer to these, so I'll entertain you here. Let you take advantage of this one as well. Says it's a question for Neil specifically, but Chase, since you have a young child, it also applies to you. The father of a 1-year-old girl, and I want to know what are the things that you miss the most, regret not enjoying more, activities, moments you wish you would have done with your child now that they are grown. Neil McCready.
It's little stuff, I think. I don't think it's the big stuff as much as it's just kind of, I mean, this sounds cliche, but it's just sort of being there, I think.
Just opportunities to be present.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you're one of these guys that travels a ton and you're gone a lot and you look up and you missed a lot of stuff, you're not getting that back. I don't think it's necessarily, I don't even know how to say it. I don't know. I'm not going to be the guy that pretends to have the whole father thing down. I don't. Parenting's hard.
Is there anything you wish you hadn't emphasized, maybe that you overemphasized when they were younger?
No, I don't know that I'd change a whole hell of a lot. We always probably wish we were more consistent with like going to church and stuff. We found that it's hard to do. I'm glad we were never the people that made this massive emphasis that we all sit down for meals together, because that's next to impossible, and makes it very hard to do. Like we very rarely, the five of us, sit down at a table for a meal. It's next to impossible. Different people have different schedules. And we're pretty laid back as parents. We're not, and it's worked with us so far. We typically say yes much more than we say no. In fact, we hardly ever say no. And we don't I've never once looked at my kids' phones. I hear parents say they do that to their kids. And I get it. But what do you do when they go to college? It's always been the thing that blows me away with and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that this way's wrong, but that super strict, controlling, domineering parenting method, they're going to grow up. And when they do, it seems to me you're just setting them up to go crazy and not be prepared to handle freedom.
Oh, I've seen that with a lot of people my age, knowing their parents and how it went down. You went, "Ooh, I saw that coming from a mile away."
One thing I'm glad that we've done with ours, especially with Campbell already, because she has a couple of jobs. She's got her own debit card. She's got her own checking account. She's learning how to manage money. Kind of beginning to learn how to understand some of those things, even though she doesn't pay some of her bills. Obviously, she's not paying her car note. She's not paying her car insurance. She knows what it is. She's seen it. Understand that's what it cost. Because these people that are like, oh, well, money doesn't matter. That's crazy. In the words of the great philosopher Andy Kennedy, money won't buy happiness, but broke won't buy shit. Whether you think Andy Kennedy was the greatest basketball coach or the worst basketball coach or somewhere in between is completely up to you. Anybody that argues with that philosophy, you're out of your mind.
It's the cousin to the Anthony Golson, Sinqueza's dad's statement of, if it don't make money, it don't make sense.
True.
Back to going full circle to the beginning of today's podcast. That was Anthony Golson's take on the situation at the All-Star game that night.
But I don't know. I don't know. I have regrets and stuff. I mean, I think we all have regrets about stuff because you have bad moments. But I don't know. I don't know. I think when it's all over, my kids will say that I was an okay dad. I'm not going to win Dad of the Year anytime, but I think they'll say I was okay.
Yes, your belt and your shoes have to match. That is an affirmative.
They at least have to come close to matching.
Yeah, they have to complement.
Yeah,
that's more the word. I'm not saying wear a prom outfit every time where everything's the same exact whatever, but yeah, you have to have some semblance of understanding of what complements each other. You get a lot of brown and black in our profession going together at times.
Oh well, our field's the absolute worst. Because we have two things. We have people who have just let themselves go.
With bad style options on top of it.
And people who are still wearing the same shirts from the 80s and they're proud of it.
It's a badge of honor, really.
It is. They're proud of it. It's like their deal. And you're like, man, you just don't know how comical you look.
I talk about drinking unsweet tea all the time. This might be one of the reasons why in question here. Why has the fast casual restaurant industry decided to treat you like a criminal for ordering water? The tiny cup they give you has to get up 4 times to refill is ridiculous. I will spend more on the regular drink just to avoid that stupid cup and just get water.
But there are people who ruin it for the rest of us.
So give me a plastic see-through cup that's larger.
I know. But there are people that have ruined it by going, yeah, I'm going to have water, and they get the cup, and then they go fill it up with soda.
So because of the 10% dregs of society, they screw it up for everyone else.
Yes, Chase. That's how that works.
That's the answer to this?
Yes. Have you not noticed that throughout the rest of the world?
Just get some bigger cups. You can still be see-through. You don't have to be at Nukes. They don't have to
Why do you think your insurance is so high? It's because of the cats that are out there driving around without insurance.
The cups should be bigger. That's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree. But
frankly, it's promoting unhealthy habits.
I don't disagree with that either.
Because there's only 1 or 2 options up there that are calorie or sugar-free.
Because the cat that goes up there and fills up the huge 30-something ounce deal with either sweet tea or Coke You're like, here, just take some sugar and pour it into your veins.
Why do you hate sweet tea?
I don't hate it. It's just
Do you like the Splenda sweetened sweet tea?
not really.
See, I actually like it. It gives me that little bit of just something from my childhood when I would drink sweet tea, because I don't drink regular sweet tea anymore at all.
Every so often, I will have a
Half and half
a
or
tea,
something.
and I'll put just a little sweet and low in it.
See, that's different though than being made with it. It's a whole different taste. That's a terrible taste.
Yeah, I just don't. Tea's not my thing. Like, we grew up drinking sweet tea, and I don't think my parents even. I don't think they've had sweet tea in decades.
Really?
Yeah,
Which is uncommon for that generation.
I mean,
Growing up in the South.
I can remember. You boil the water, and you'd put the half cup of sugar in there, and
half cup. Whoa, what are you talking
a
about?
pitcher of water.
Oh, multiple cups.
Oh no, we never did multiple cups.
Maybe my Twitter poll today. How much sugar do you put in sweet tea for a picture?
I mean, you realize that you're creating simple syrup and then sweetening the simple syrup. That's all simple
I've never
syrup
really thought
is.
about it that way. But
If someone says make a simple syrup for your cocktail, it's 1 part water to 1 part sugar. And so if you're adding 2 cups of water to a gallon or a quart of water, of sugar to water, you know what I'm saying? You're making a syrup. It's absolutely, technically, a syrup.
yeah.
I mean, it is. So you're having tea-flavored syrup. Not my thing. But I don't drink soda. I haven't had a soda.
You used to kind of cheat and have a regular Coke just occasionally.
Yeah, and I won't do it now unless I'm on the road somewhere and I have like I can feel like a really bad headache coming on. Sometimes I'll buy a Coke, a regular Coke.
So you believe in the regular over the diet?
Yeah, that diet. Well, they say if you're gonna have 1 Coke or 6 Diet Cokes, have 1 Coke. Those Diet Cokes are terrible for you. But I'll get a Coke and just have part of it to try to get the caffeine. If I'm in a place where the coffee looks like it would be bad.
Rich Rod had taken the Alabama job in 2006. Who's the top program in the country right now?
Whew.
Alabama under Dabo Swinney?
Certainly be in the mix. You'd have to think that Kirby Smart and Georgia's not happening right now. Certainly not the way that it's happening right now. Which is somewhat reckless, but regardless.
I'd have to look around and really kind of dive into where I think people might have moved given that situation. Because there's a possibility that Alabama never figure out how to actually win.
I'll give you Les Miles at LSU has a completely different trajectory.
Yeah.
Because he got close.
A dominant program all of a sudden.
Yeah, Les Miles might be...
Got 2 or 3 national titles and definitely got one in 11.
Yeah, he might be an absolute superstar right now today. Which would have been good because he's a good guy. Houston Nutt probably wins a SEC title at Ole Miss.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, Saban has messed up a lot of stuff for a lot of people.
See, I like this what if a lot better than the other one because I still get to keep Breeze under this what if.
Urban Meyer has a completely different tenure at Florida.
Yeah, because that overlapped too. So
because that would have changed their recruiting. They could have gone out and recruited multiple 5-star players. Oklahoma probably has a different track right now.
Potentially.
They've been super close a number of times.
Yeah, it's potential.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if
you don't know if Jimbo's tenures, look different with Bama gone.
Yeah, I don't know who Alabama would have hired. I mean, it's one of the things that's really fascinating, and you ask Alabama people, and they don't know the answer. What if Nick Saban had just said, you know what, I'm going to give this another year?
Well, this is if Rod takes it.
Okay, yeah. Because Rich Rodriguez would have had success at Alabama. Would he have had Saban-level success?
Right. You can't predict that on anyone.
I don't know because
it took a certain departmental change that you don't know.
Well, that was the big thing. I don't know that Rich Rodriguez would have had the ability to walk in and do what Saban did, which is, all right, all you sons of bitches, get out.
Yeah.
Get out. Keep giving me your money, but get out.
Yeah. Wrapping up with
he told Mal Moore, I'm only going to do it if I have total control.
Right. Wrapping up a couple last ones. If Jeffrey would like to have a sports gambling podcast, I have a network that will be happy to host it. That is completely up to him. I don't know if that violates his own agreements currently, probably, to be honest.
Probably something they'd have to talk about.
Last question. We've done a lot of semblances of this, but we'll do this one. Favorite road venue in all three sports. Each one. We'll close there. It's LSU for football.
Yeah, it was.
You leaning somewhere else now?
Yeah,
Vanderbilt do that much for you last time?
My last couple of trips to LSU.
Kind of blah?
Yeah.
Because of the way it's run or something?
Well, you have to park a gazillion miles away, and
okay.
Like that's my criticism of State. It's not. It's having to park out in that village thing.
State is my least liked one, and it has nothing to do with people or anything like that. It's because of where you have to park, because it's always freezing in an open press box.
Yeah.
And because it's open, it's so freaking loud with the cowbells. I have a poor time because of those three things combined. It has nothing to do with the people, actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. My favorite one.
I like Auburn. I like Georgia.
I like Auburn fine.
Alabama's done a much better job over the last 5 to 10 years.
Auburn's changed theirs, by the way. They've moved the press
they're
box.
in the end now.
And everybody like Jay and them hate it.
Yeah, I forgot about that. They did move. Hey, you just want to talk about where you get to park and going in. Now, the university is bat crazy. A&M was fine. Nothing wrong with A&M from a media standpoint.
Yeah. I don't know. I like games at Kentucky.
Football?
Yeah.
Basketball, I haven't been to very many. Actually, I kind of like – I've been a couple times. I like games at Tennessee. Something about Thompson Bowling I kind of like.
I like Thompson Bowling. I like Bud Walton.
I've never been to Rupp, so I don't have any comparison up there.
Rupp's a fun place to cover a game. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but it's a fun place to go to a game. I like Coleman. The walk's very short. I haven't been to the new Auburn Arena. I've seen it, but I've not covered a game in it.
I don't know that I have or not. I don't think I've covered some at Beard Eves, obviously, but I don't know if I've been.
Games at the O'Connell Center's fine.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't know basketball. It's all the same. I like covering games at LSU. I've always thought that was kind of a cool basketball venue.
Baseball-wise, Vanderbilt has the best food for the media. It's easy. Vanderbilt's fine.
They had
all the packages.
They have the package where you can watch the different baseball games.
They have baseball and basketball packages.
Because we watched some cat going for a no-hitter one night.
It was Verlander.
Yeah,
it was Verlander. Night of an Ole Miss Vanderbilt game. LSU is not a great media experience because, and I mean, I'm never going to go to a place and go, oh, the eating is most important or whatever, but I get grossed out by those cheese dispenser machines.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And at LSU, every single game, there's never any variety. Like, if you covered them, it would drive me insane. It's hot dogs with the dispensers for the cheese and one of those chili dispensers. And that's what's in their press box. It's hot dogs, chips, chili, and cheese out of the machines.
And there are guys going in there and doing that every day.
Every day.
And they wonder why speaking of belts, don't fit. Come on, fellas.
Best as far as just best media food baseball, it's Arkansas because they give you meal tickets to go to the smokehouse thing down one of the lines where you can get like brisket and like pulled pork and like a lot of stuff that's pretty good down there. So they're good. Actually, that might be my favorite. I really like covering baseball at Arkansas.
It's better than a lot of minor league settings.
Because it is a minor league setting. You feel like you're at a Double-A game.
Which is what's weird, that there is a Double-A team up there.
Mm-hmm. That's why I don't pick it for best environment, per se, is it's not dead, but just different. It doesn't feel like LSU, State, Ole Miss. Probably even South Carolina kind of feels like Arkansas. That's a similar place where it.
But in terms of like the parking and all that, it's a good setup. You park and it's good there, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I like Arkansas. There's no doubt about that. So, anyway, all right, rebelgrove.com. A lot of stuff up if you'd like to see continuation of the Ealy conversation. And then and then much, much more. It's there. So we will talk to you again on Monday. Mr. McCready?
Yeah, this podcast has been brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry's an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. Go to his site, harryalexander.com. Click on the Properties Neighborhoods tab. Filter through by what you're looking for. Send him an email. He'll take care of the rest. It's ha@harryalexander.com. Also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives its customers the absolute best cash checking account. It's called Kasasa. With Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000 and refund ATM fees nationwide. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. If you're driving around this weekend, you want something to listen to, check out the Beer Garden, presented by Oxford Crystal. Neil Stratton of Inside the League joins. We talk all of the NFL playoff games this week. Look ahead to the NFL playoff games next week. We talk about the quarterbacks at the top of the draft, Eli Manning's future, his thoughts on the Steelers, should they blow it up. And we talk about the underclassmen who left Ole Miss early. You might be surprised at some of the very early draft opinions of Neil Stratton and others as it pertains to A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf, Greg Little, and Dawson Knox. So check that out. It'll be available at some point today.
We'll be back on Monday. Talk to you then.